This video is about three ordinary persons who overcame lifetime's challenges and developed unique methods to achieve incredible accomplishment in the field of languages that totally changed my perspective of language learning and will probably change yours as well. Ever since I started being attracted by foreign languages, I simply adore stories about individuals who have been able to commit their lives to the same passion. And to me, the stories of amazing language learners from the pre-internet age are the most impressive of all. The first one was born in 1867 under the name of Emil Krebs. He was the son of a master carpenter from Freiburg in today's Germany. Soon after he was born, the family migrated to Asdorf due to professional reasons, a village that counted around 400 inhabitants and had a school with only one classroom for all pupils from around the region. Here, the challenging conditions for someone eager to discover the world became noticeable. Nevertheless, his passion for languages was launched when he was 9 and found an old French newspaper, and when his teacher Theodore Hoffmann gave him a French dictionary. Some weeks later, he showed up at the teacher's desk speaking the language. While his fellow pupils laughed at him, his teacher discovered his tremendous potential, starting to support little Emil in his language drives. Consequently, the student was promoted to higher education and eventually reaching the gymnasium. As his father was of modest background, this was rather exceptional for that time, with higher education being pretty a privilege of the wealthy. By the end of high school, Emil has spoken 12 languages, all taught by himself. As the next step, the Polyglot started studying theology, inspired by his devout mother, but after one semester he decided to change his academic course for law. Simultaneously, he enrolled in a seminar for Oriental languages where the Chinese began to draw all his attention. Eventually, he had concluded he wished to make the study of foreign languages the primary objective of his education. He turned first to the study of Mandarin Chinese because it was regarded by many to be the most difficult language to learn. Within only 2 years, Emil Krebs had absorbed Chinese to such an extent that he had attained the level of a well-educated native. But how did Emil manage to learn so many languages? Well, the resources suggest some of the noticeable patterns in his language study. Krebs reviewed his languages in strict rotation, assigning Turkish to Monday, Chinese to Tuesday, Greek to Wednesday, and so on. With the book in hand, he walked around and around the dining room table from midnight to 4 in the morning, naked, smoking a cigar, drunk on German beer. Okay, I don't suggest taking off your clothes or drinking, this is probably too radical. His library was organized by languages and language groups. For each book he wrote a summary which he regularly reviewed. At his desk he always stood. He refused to eat anything but meat and sought out social interaction only if he could use one of his languages. At the old age he knew 32 languages, not in the way we often see with polyglots, but elegantly and well-spoken, one of the testimonies has written. One afternoon in March 1930, when he was translating something, Krebs collapsed and died soon afterwards. The news spread quickly, and later that day his wife received a chilling call with the request for the family to donate his brain to science, what they eventually allowed. His brain is still available for research purposes at Research Center in Heinrich Heine University in Düsseldorf. In 2004, scientists had the opportunity to dissect Krebs' brain in an effort to confirm whether his impressive language skills were due to a unique brain structure. While they observed distinct differences in the region of Krebs' brain responsible for language, known as Broca's area, they were ultimately unable to answer whether his unique brain was different since birth or if it grew to be that way from learning so many new languages. Today we know that hyperpolyglots have distinct differences in their brains' neural activity when compared to people who can only speak one language. This is because human brain is a highly adaptive organ. Any type of cognitive activity, whether it is doing a puzzle, playing an instrument, or learning a language, can build new neural pathways. But 38 years before Krebs passed away, on the far east of the world, in China, an amazing kid called Yuan Ren Chao was born. From a young age, he moved around a lot with his family and learned to speak and understand different dialects of Chinese, including Changshu and Mandarin, which differ as much as English and German do. He went to America in 1912 for the first time for education at Cornell University, where he formally studied mathematics and physics. He had already achieved fluency in English before leaving China, and by the time of his graduation he could speak French and German and read Greek and Latin. At that time, the new Chinese government was beginning to agree on a standard for the official national language, and in 1920s he recorded several sets of phonograph records designed as models of the Mandarin language. After that project, he performed an extensive study of Chinese dialect in several different provinces. He learned enough of the local dialect wherever he went so that the locals wouldn't have to speak Mandarin with him. He was apparently able to pick up some dialects in just 2 months, thanks to this extremely refined ear for phonetics. He eventually returned permanently to the US, where he taught Chinese to university students and applied his method for learning languages, which was focus on the spoken language first and read aloud as much as possible. Later on in the 20th century, other researchers would confirm that reading aloud in the foreign language does have serious benefits to a learner. The modern day language enthusiast can take away 2 main ideas from Chao's story. First, develop your ear through phonetics knowledge or ear training exercises such as listening with transcript, using auditory memory, repeating, imitating, etc. Second, don't be afraid to read your homework aloud. His success with languages has even more importance when we know that he had to deal with early recording technology for his dialect studies. Nowadays, digital technology has made it a snap to record yourself and check your accent in an instant. As long as you're pronouncing things correctly, you're building important pathways in your brain by associating your speech with the image of the word on the page as well as the sounds coming out of your mouth. Yuan Renchao remained known as Chinese-American linguist, educator, poet, and composer who contributed to the modern study of Chinese phonology and grammar. But the story that had the most impact on my language learning journey is the story of a girl called Katalin. It was the winter of 1909 when little Katalin was born in a small rural town, Patch, in Hungary. Her father was a district doctor for the poor. Kato, how her parents used to call her, studied Latin and French at elementary school, but later at high school in Patch, she did not speak German well compared to her classmates, who were either looked after by German governess or of Swabian origin, and she was very far behind them. At that time, no one could have guessed that she would become one of the world's first simultaneous interpreters and that her language skills would take her around the world. But let's see how Catalan became one of the most famous polyglots ever. After graduating from high school with a D in German, she went on to study chemistry at college and later earned a PhD in physics and chemistry at the University of Patch. After obtaining her PhD in chemistry, she saw that the economic depression was making job prospects terrible for those in the scientific fields, so she decided to teach English. She just had to learn it first. In her language learning, Cato plunged into reading low-cost yet thrilling romance novels, equipped only with a dictionary and unrestrained enthusiasm. Her strategy was simple: if the story is exciting enough, it can keep you going past what you don't understand. Eventually, you can pick up what you need through context. These principles took her further than she could ever imagine. After the end of the Second World War, she began a long and successful career in interpretation and translation. In fact, she was one of the first professional simultaneous interpreters in the world. After English, she acquired French, Russian, Polish, Chinese, Japanese, and quite a few other languages that she used to work as a translator. Cato believed that eagerness is the most important part of language learning. Accent and grammar could always come later if you were simply thrilled about learning and understanding new words in the language. No matter what language she was speaking, she always had faith in herself to complete her assignments, along with the energy to keep studying her whole life. Eventually, Cato's techniques and attitude affected my own language learning process through two different aspects. First, I tried to develop a pure enthusiasm for learning and tried to be okay with not knowing everything at first. Second, I understood the importance of extensive reading and I developed love for reading in foreign languages. The momentum of the good story will carry you through the confusion of the vocabulary, and if you're bored by the story, toss it aside and move on. Life is too short to push yourself through boring books. Thus, all these three polyglots came from different corners of the world and experienced vastly different things throughout their lives, yet their minds were always open, looking for more opportunities to learn or expand their knowledge. If there was any unanswered question about languages or linguistics, they always had an ear open for the solution. Finally, these folks all stayed with their languages for their whole lives. They didn't treat them as a passing trend or something to acquire quickly and then ignore. They knew that learning a language is a process that never truly ends, no matter how life may change. Let me know what you think about these three stories in the comments below and which one do you admire the most. And don't forget to provide the support to the channel by subscribing and sharing the video. See you soon!